This is the best and easiest XP farm in Minecraft Bedrock. Now this farm is super easy to build and will get you all the XP you would ever need. Now these are the resources you will need to build this, so anyways, let's get into it. Alright, so the first step to this farm is to find yourself somewhere to build it, and once you found yourself somewhere to build it, break out one block into the ground and replace it with a block of sand. Then break yourself out one more block behind the sand, pretty much like this, and then you will have to build up a wall of temporary blocks around the block you just broke, pretty much like this, and then you will have to get yourself a zombie within this room. Alright, so it is nighttime right now, and all I will need to do is simply locate the zombie and then lure it into this room. Alright, so once I've gotten a zombie into the room like I have, expand one of the blocks you have in the corner right here by one more temporary block going upwards, then simply build a roof above the room where you have the zombie, and then you can of course break all the temporary blocks we placed earlier. So what you should have now is something that looks like this. Also, just for the sake of it, I would highly recommend that you name tag this zombie, that way it does not despawn. But you can of course just bring a new zombie over here every time you want to use the farm, but the most convenient is simply just to name tag him like I did. So anyways, what you will have to do now is place yourself a composter in front of this block, and this composter should be pretty much 2 blocks above where you have this sand block. So as you can see, we have 1 block in between them. So anyways, once you've done this, you will now need to jump upwards, stand on top of the composter, and then place yourself a staircase on the block that's behind the composter. Then place yourself a block to the left and to the right of the staircase, and then expand this by 1 more block going forward on each side. Then once you've done that, you will also need to place yourself a block above the staircase, and then expand one of the walls we have on the side right here by 1 more block going outwards, and then place yourself a fence going out on this block, and then you can destroy the temporary block. And this fence should pretty much be 1 block above and out from this composter, or pretty much 1 block in front of the staircase, pretty much like this. So anyways, what you will have to do now is quite a difficult but also crucial step, and that is to get yourself an armadillo within this composter. Now the easiest way to do that is of course by building this farm in the savanna biome and then looking for one that's spawning naturally, and then simply just luring it into the farm. Now one brief thing I want to say is that adult armadillos will be the hardest to bring into this composter, so I would actually recommend you have 2 armadillos nearby, breed them up, get a baby, and then simply lure the baby into this composter. And this is actually quite convenient because we happen to have a baby armadillo over here, so we can simply lure it over using a lead, and then you will just need to get him or this guy into of course this composter. And also, just to briefly say, you might need to place some blocks around it, for example, just to make this as easy as possible, or even remove this fence and replace it with a temporarily solid block. But whatever way you decide to do this, just make sure you get yourself an armadillo within this room like I have. So what I can do now is remove this lead of course, and remove any temporary blocks I placed, and once you get an armadillo within here, the armadillo will hide into its shell because of the zombie we have right here. But anyways, if you happen to have a baby armadillo right here, you will need to wait for a baby armadillo to grow up, or if you have an adult armadillo, you can just continue with the farm like normal. So anyways, what you will have to do now is expand the roof we have right here by 1 more block going forward, and then you will also have to waterlock the staircase you have right here, and now the water should flow out until pretty much above where the composter is. So anyways, once I've done this, what you will have to do now is go to the right side of what I built so far, then expand the 2 blocks we have right here by 1 more block going outwards, pretty much like this, then expand this by 1 more block going outwards from the right, pretty much like this. So what you should have now is something that looks like this. So anyways, what you will have to do now is place yourself a lever on top of the block you just placed, and then going out from the lever you will have to place yourself a composter, and then you will also have to tap on the composter or right click on it, that way the little light you have in the front right there is turned on. The next step is then to fill in the rest of these 3 blocks with the redstone dusts, and then place yourself 1 final redstone dust on top of this block you have right here. And now if you flick this lever on, all the redstone will kind of be taking on and off pretty much like this. And if that is happening, then you build this correctly. So anyways, what we can do now is temporarily turn this off, and now we really just have 2 more steps. So the first step is to place yourself a trapdoor above this fence we have right here. However, this trapdoor will have to be placed in a specific way, because the trapdoor you're going to place on top of here, to make this farm as best and as automatic as possible, you will need to place it facing either one of 2 directions. Now if you don't know, you can of course place a trapdoor facing 4 directions, so for example north if this happens to be north, south, east and west, and if you open them they will all open in of course a different way. So if I place a trapdoor right here it will open this way, but if I place it by looking this way it will open this way, and this is quite important for this farm. So what I would recommend you do is get yourself an empty locator map, open it, and then you will have to place the trapdoor either facing east or facing south. Now to briefly explain what I mean by that is that if I look at the map right now, as you can see right now I'm facing east, so what I'll have to do is look east, which you can see based on my character on the map. I'll then have to place a trapdoor, and if I open it, it should be opening kind of away from me. This means that it's opening facing east. Now you will either need to do it this way, or you will need to face south, which for me will be this way, and then I will need to place the trapdoor while looking south, which is this direction, as in downwards on the map. I'll then have to place the trapdoor right here, open it, and make sure it's facing away from me. So you will need to place the trapdoor that's going to be right above this fence, either facing south or facing east. Now you can choose either one, however for this farm I'm just going to place it facing east, as I can choose both directions, so I might as well just choose one of them. So again, once you place it, make sure you double check it looks like it's facing east. Yes it is, so that means that we have done this correctly. And anyways, once I place this trapdoor, you will also of course need to throw yourself a trident above this trapdoor. Now make sure this trident is as close to the corner of this trapdoor as possible, as into the wall, but also make sure you don't throw it at the wall like this, because then the trident killer won't work. But if you throw the trident really far out on this trapdoor like this, the trident killer also will have a high chance of not working. So what you will have to do is ideally build yourself upwards and then throw yourself a trident while looking pretty much at the corner of this trapdoor, pretty much like this. And then to make sure this works, you can turn this on, and the trident should kind of be moving around very close to the water like this. So anyways, now we just have one final step, and that is to place ourselves a cactus on top of the sand. But before you do that, you have some important things to know. If you happen to have a baby armadillo within this farm like I have, you will need to wait for the baby armadillo to grow up, because if you place the cactus firstly, the baby armadillo will die pretty quickly. Or if you happen to have an adult armadillo in there, the armadillo will still start taking damage, but because of the zombie, the armadillo will be within its shell and it will take very little damage. And I did run a quick test where I put an armadillo inside a composter that was on top of a cactus with a zombie nearby, meaning the armadillo were within its shell, and even after running this test for more than an hour, the armadillo had yet not died. So that means that the armadillo can survive for quite a while. But anyways, what you will have to do now is wait for the baby armadillo to grow up if you have a baby armadillo, and then just place yourself a cactus right here. Alright guys, so it's been a little bit of time, and as you can see, the armadillo appears to be grown up, meaning we can finally start using this farm. So anyways, all you will need to do now is place yourself a cactus under the sand right here, and now the armadillo will start taking damage, but it will not die for a long time because it is within its shell. So anyways, to use this farm, all you will need to get yourself now is a potion of infestation. Simply throw it here and the farm will start working. However, you might not know how to make one of these potions, so I'm gonna show you that briefly. So what you will need firstly is of course a brewing stand, and you will of course need some blaze power to of course power it. And once you've done that, you will also need yourself 3 water bottles. Now if you don't know how to get water bottles, you will simply need to use 3 glass blocks to craft up empty glass bottles, and then just right click on water source and you will fill them up with water. So anyways, then fill up this brewing stand with the water down here, and then you will firstly have to place yourself a nether wart on top of here. Alright, so anyways, once a nether wart has been used, you should now have some awkward potions. So what you will need to do now is place yourself a piece of stone in the brewing stand, and boom, once you place some stone within the brewing stand, you should now have some potions of infestations. However, you will of course need to be able to throw them, so to do that, place yourself a piece of gunpowder in there, and once that is done, you will then have some splash potions of infestation. Alright, so once you've done that, you will now officially have some splash potions of infestation, and the farm is ready to be used. But anyways, I'm gonna go into survival mode quickly, and as you can see, I barely have any levels. So what I will have to do now is simply flick this lever to turn on this trident killer, and then I will have to throw myself a potion of infestation right here. And what should happen now is the silverfish will start spawning, and they will of course be killed by the trident killer, and I will collect all XP. And as you can see, I'm collecting XP very quickly because I'm already level 11. Now level 12, and any moment now pretty quickly level 13, 14, now I'm level 15. As you can see, while I'm speaking, this is not sped up or anything, while I'm speaking I'm gaining XP insanely fast, and over the course of what should be with my timer almost 30 seconds, we should have reached level 20. So it's been 27 seconds now roughly, now it's been about 30 seconds, so after around 33 seconds I've gotten to level 20. I also want to talk about pausing this farm. Now to stop using this farm, you can either wait for the 3-minute potion to run out, or the best thing is ideally to break the cactus, because if I were to now flick off this lever to turn this off, the trident killer would only be turned off, but of course the silverfish would still spawn. So I would recommend you leave the trident killer on, break the cactus, and then wait for all of the silverfish to be dead before you turn this off. So as you can see, now all the silverfish are dead, so what I can do now is simply turn off this, and now we have paused the farm. But yeah, so anyways guys, that is it for this farm, and that is how to make a pretty easy and honestly super efficient XP farm using the infestation potions and an armadillo in Minecraft. So anyways guys, that is it for this one. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. So if you have any questions about how this works or anything like that, feel free to leave them down below, and I'll try to answer your question as quickly as possible. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.